When the black smoke cleared above Diaghilevo and Belaya, it wasn't just twisted metal that remained. It was a new Russian doctrine being forged in fire. In the summer of 2025, the loss of multiple Tu-95 strategic bombers to Ukrainian drone strikes was a wake-up call. Not only did it raid sweeping defense establishments, but it also marked the beginning of a sweeping transformation across Russian military aviation. What followed was an unprecedented campaign of fortification, retaliation, and resilience. The message was unmistakable. Russia will not be caught off guard again, and this time, its bombers are not sitting ducks. So this is what we have for you. Critics, ranging from Russian military bloggers to former generals, quickly slammed the apparent negligence in base protection. But the Kremlin didn't waste time responding with words. It responded with concrete, steel, and earth. By July 2025, commercial satellite photos began revealing a new landscape. At bases like Milarovo, Kursk, Vostochny, Saki, and Vardiiska, something was changing. Hardened aircraft shelters, some shaped like domes, others like massive steel coffins, began to appear. These weren't just hangars, they were fortresses. Reinforced concrete with steel blast doors, earthen berms to absorb shrapnel, drive-through designs that allow bombers to be fueled, armed, and launched without ever being exposed to open sky. Russia even added clever camouflage techniques, painted silhouettes, decoy tires, and false hangar placements to confuse enemy targeting systems. It started with a daring Ukrainian raid that stretched the boundaries of modern warfare. On June 1, 2025, long-range drones and precision strikes lit up Russian air bases far from the front lines: Belaya, Olenya, Diaghilevo, Ivanovo. These weren't symbolic hits. They were calculated blows meant to cripple Russia's strategic air power. Ukrainian sources claimed at least 12 aircraft destroyed, including Tu-95s, Tu-22 M3 bombers, and even a prized A-50 early warning aircraft. Satellite imagery suggested an even graver picture, possibly over 40 aircraft damaged or destroyed. The heart of the Russian long-range strike force had been pierced. The Tu-95, a Cold War-era giant that continues to serve as a backbone of Russia's nuclear and conventional deterrent, had become a high-value target. But here's the twist. These aircraft weren't destroyed in air-to-air combat or by fighter intercepts. They were simply sitting in the open, exposed, vulnerable to low-cost drones and missiles. It was a vulnerability that Russia could no longer ignore. By late July, at least 14 airbases had begun or completed hardened shelter installations, some going from blueprints to near operational in a matter of weeks. What Russia pulled off in 2 months rivaled what NATO took years to do in the Cold War. It wasn't just a response, it was a statement. And it worked. While Ukraine continued to launch strikes, the casualty rate among parked aircraft dropped dramatically. Russia's strategic air fleet wasn't just surviving, it was adapting. After all, these shelters are just one part of the Russian playbook. Moscow isn't just reacting, it's evolving. Radar coverage has expanded with new Voronezh stations providing early detection of incoming drones and cruise missiles. Active air defense systems, including the formidable Pantsir S-1, S-400, and Tor M2, have been positioned in overlapping rings around high-value air bases. These aren't token deployments. They're dense, layered, and aggressive. Then there's dispersal. Russian aircraft no longer remain at one location for long. Bombers are rotated between airfields, keeping enemies guessing. Some aircraft have even been spotted at civilian airports and auxiliary runways in Siberia and the Far East, proof of a growing emphasis on unpredictability. For for the first time in decades, Russia is fully embracing the doctrine of aerial fortification, not just defense, but protection, not just retaliation, but resilience. And now, Ukraine's defense meets Russian retaliation because Russia didn't just reinforce its defense, they fired back. On the night of July 28, 2025, Russia launched a crushing strike against Tu-95 airbase, one of Ukraine's most critical aviation hubs. Over 320 projectiles were launched, including Shahed-type drones, cruise missiles, and even Kinzhal hypersonic weapons. It was one of the largest coordinated strikes of the war. Ukraine's defense was nothing short of impressive. Out of 324 projectiles, 309 drones and nearly every missile were intercepted by the country's multi-layered systems. Patriots, Iris-Ts, book batteries, and mobile fire teams. Electronic warfare units jammed signals, spoofed drones, and forced many to crash. And yet, 15 drones and 2 missiles got through. Damage was done, not catastrophic, but a reminder that even the best defense leaks under pressure. Ukraine's strategy has adapted in kind. Mobile man-pad squads now roam in unpredictable patterns. Aircraft are no longer stored in one place for long, and hardened shelters have started to emerge, though in smaller numbers due to limited resources. The Ukrainian military has learned to absorb punishment and bounce back fast. Still, there's no denying the asymmetric reality. While Ukraine innovates with drones and electronic warfare, Russia counters with scale, infrastructure, and heavy firepower. And when it comes to shielding critical aviation assets, Russia's industrial capacity allows it to build protection faster than Ukraine can destroy it. The idea of a rear area sanctuary has become obsolete. In today's battlefield, air bases, once safely tucked away from enemy fire, have been pushed to the front line, not by geography, but by the reach of modern weapons and the speed of adaptation on both sides. In this evolving reality, Russia and Ukraine are locked in a relentless contest not just of firepower, but of infrastructure and resilience. Long-range drones, loitering munitions, cruise missiles, and electronic warfare have turned every airfield into a target, every runway into a potential crater. The very notion of safety has shifted. It's no longer about distance from the front, it's about how fast you can adapt. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.